Jason Leverant, welcome to Listening with Leaders. You are the Chief Operating Officer and President of AtWork, which can be found at atwork.com. Thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, Doug, excited to be a part and share some stories with you.
So you have a really interesting background. I know about you because I interviewed you on Authority Magazine, but I would like you to tell us a little bit about your backstory for those that are listening and have never met you before.
Yeah, it's an interesting background because when I look in the mirror and who I am today in the staffing industry and the franchising industry, it's not really where I came from. I didn't intend to be here, but kind of landed in it like most people, kind of found that niche and that sweet spot. I started my professional career in the golf industry and actually worked for a golf products manufacturer and, spent some time, hanging out with PGA pros and marketing, clubs and balls to the, the mass audiences through big box chains. And opportunities arose that allowed me to start looking for my next adventure in a career. And I kind of fell into the temporary staffing space. Found some roots there and really established myself with AtWork as a sales, VP of sales, and really just took the exciting ride to get me to where I am today. It's been a fun story though. I mean, going from golf to temporary staffing, looking at golf products and moving to kind of human capital and focusing on human really workforce efficiencies and things of that sort. Whole different animal. So
I was going to say, I was just thinking, what did you learn that the differences were between selling a product, like a recreational product, like golf equipment, and then basically working with people?
Well, I'll tell you, working in an industry that's typically a recreation, it is what it's cracked up to be. It's very much what people think. It's definitely a fun industry to be in, and great opportunity to make good connections. But you're making it really a surface value on something like golf, like entertainment. In the staffing industry, we're making real impact in people's lives and in companies' lives. I mean, we're helping, no joke, literally helping people find their next opportunity that helps put food on the table for their families. And so the impact that you can make in your community through what we do on a daily basis is just absolutely phenomenal. And you can feel the difference there. So
your company AtWork is you're in the staffing business, but you're really a franchisor. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, it's kind of layered in the sense of, yes, boots on the ground and in our branches throughout the country. We are, helping clients find great employees, helping, employees find great job opportunities, but kind of pulling back one layer. We're also helping entrepreneurial minded individuals enter the staffing space. And so we're helping them, get their businesses open. We're helping them find efficiencies through the resources that we provide as a franchisor. And through those efforts, it helps us position and helps our owners get really, really successful, grow their businesses more rapidly, more successfully, more effectively. So yeah, we're a couple of different hats on that front, but ultimately it's similar kind of outcomes. We're helping people kind of achieve their goals, their personal goals, their financial goals.
How many franchisees does AtWork have now?
So we've got about 60 franchise owners over about 115 or so locations. If I were to look at sprinkle and pin drops on the maps, we've got a lot of multi-unit owners. We've got some single unit owners, but we're rapidly growing. We've got some aspirations for growth over the next 5 to 10 years, where we're adding anywhere from 12 to 20 new franchise owners a year over that time period. So we look to double our owner count and hopefully triple or quadruple our branch location count in that short period of time.
Does your company have a niches that it fills? I mean, I know a lot of staffing companies will sometimes specialize or have a narrow focus. What about you?
Yeah. So I guess the best way to describe our model is a commercial staffing branch or commercial staffing organization. So we're effectively generalist. That when people look at staffing and they think about staffing, many people go to that, kind of day labor services, or they go the other end of the spectrum where it's like IT staffing, healthcare staffing, things of that sort. We're kind of in the middle. So when we look in the mirror, we help, kind of your early skill, kind of entry point career opportunities within manufacturing facilities, warehouse, distribution, things of that sort, and within call centers and clerical type opportunities. So, direct competitors in the space are kind of some household names, Kelly Services, Manpower, things of that sort. Right. Those are our day-to-day kind of competitors.
So you've been doing this for quite a while. I think since, I was going to say in the early 90s.
Yeah, 2000s. Yeah, not that old yet. I don't have any hair. I've lost it fast.
I think it was, wasn't it 2007 that you joined the firm? I think I read.
I started at AtWork in 2007. Yeah, good memory. And
Yep.
I was actually with a larger firm prior and cut my teeth in the industry, a company called Ronstadt. So started down the pathway there, and then obviously joined the AtWork group and haven't looked back since. It's been a wild ride.
The other thing I remember is, and I smiled, is that you were kind of a young buck then, and it didn't take too long, what, a year or two before the owner of the company tapped you to become the COO?
Yeah, it was pretty, it was a pretty wild ride. And I joined AtWork in 2007, and I'm sure as many of your listeners experienced the 2007, 2008 kind of,
wiped us all out.
Ride. Yeah. The ride that is the Great Recession there.
Right.
It impacted us as well, impacted workforce. Unemployment rates were high. We experienced some significant change internally. I think I just was in the right, I hate to say right place, right time, but I also put the right energy. I really took the bull by the horns. I grabbed the reins and ran with it when the owner needed somebody to really do that. I continue to do that. And so it's been a really exciting opportunity to be able to really drive an organization of AtWork size and scale, bringing kind of, new ideas, new concepts to the staffing industry, trying to innovate. Unfortunately, the industry tends to be kind of, innovation is really not as present in our space as other industries, and we're trying to change that. I know me and some of my peers in the space that are really trying to push the envelope forward. Unfortunately, temporary staffing gets sometimes a little bit of a negative rap, and so we're really trying to change that through very, very high levels of service, attention to detail on that front. So, yeah.
What have you learned in the last? Let's see, it's almost 20 years.
Yeah, so I will tell you, one of the things I am, since I was a kid, like a perfectionist, I'm like very, very, I like control. I like it to be just so. And if I have to point one thing that I've learned, it's that it's okay to relinquish some of that control. Find people you trust, build a team that you trust, give them the tools and resources to be successful, and let them do their thing. And to me, that's the way to scale. I mean, one person can't do it all. And I had to keep telling myself that if I really want to take this organization to a top 10 staffing firm in the US, the only way I'm going to be able to do that is to really identify a just killer team to get out there and make it happen. Again, and that's what I'm doing. That's what we've done. So if I had learned any one thing, if I could go back in time and tell young Jason what to change more rapidly, would be that. So
a lot of people have that problem. I mean, they feel like they've got to, especially entrepreneurs, they feel like they've got to control everything. How did you overcome the anxiety of letting go? It's hard. It's not easy. I mean, I still have the anxiety at times, but know that it's all about identifying a team that has similar values, who has similar desires to achieve goals that we're all aligned towards, and it helps because I know that their intentions are there, and while they may do things slightly different than the way I do things, the outcomes still result in mutually desired outcomes. And so it goes back to building the team, coaching and developing your team, getting them to where they need to be and where you're comfortable, and then letting them do their thing and giving them the trust. Let people make mistakes. It's okay. Mistakes can be fixed and rectified, and those mistakes help them learn and become better leaders within each of their departments. So you just said something that I'm hearing over and over again on my podcast with leaders, and that is, I hire people that have similar values to mine and share the same values that I have. And that's one of the major criteria I use in my hiring decision. Tell me about that, a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at how we differentiate, I mean, one of the big things with AtWork as a franchisor, we look at our customer base. If I'm going to just put on the franchise hat for a minute, our customer base is our franchise owners. And AtWork differentiates through our high level of service. I mean, it goes back, the sign behind me says AtWork for you, maybe reverse the camera, AtWork for you. Mm-hmm. And that really, we embrace that tagline so greatly that we rewrote our mission around that focus to be AtWork for you, our franchise owners. And they then downstream that to their clients and talent in the field. But that service focused approach to how we engage with our owners really lends itself to me in my mindset of how we are able to effectively differentiate against our competition in the franchise staffing space. And then again, finding people that understand that we can differentiate through our service and our levels of service to our clients in town, or to our franchisees, but then indirectly our clients in town. That really helps. If you get somebody who's kind of a lone wolf or very, it doesn't fit within our organization, culture is really everything. And we're really a kind of that servant leadership type mentality where we're engaging with our franchise owners from the position of how can we help you achieve your goals, which ultimately helps us achieve our goals. So we're all kind of driving and rowing in the same direction, whatever expression you want to use there. We're just going towards the same outcomes that we're all looking to go towards.
So does the same principle apply to your potential franchisees, that when you're interviewing people and they're interviewing you and everybody's doing their due diligence on each other, that one of the things you're looking at is what is this person's fundamental values? Are they in?
Yeah, absolutely. In the franchise space, and that's very interesting. Great question. I mean, when we're evaluating prospective owners, and it's a two-way evaluation, right? A lot of people think, oh, well, I'm buying a franchise, you're just going to give it to me. That's not really how this works. It's less transactional than what most people think. It's not like we have a franchise territory on a shelf and anybody can just pick it up and buy it. We are looking for that stronger fit. So we're looking for people that, one, would bear the AtWork name well and be a good steward and ombudsman of the brand in their local communities. So that is a huge component of it. We're also looking for somebody who's got the drive, the motivation, the interest and willingness to put the effort into to be successful, because the staffing industry is not easy. It's very lucrative. There's lots of upside to it. There's lots of scale opportunity, but at the end of the day, to get there, it takes a lot of hard work. So.
What's it take usually for a new franchisee to start becoming profitable? And it varies from person to person, of course.
Yeah, it's really it depends on the circumstance, depends on the market they're in. I'll tell you, the one universal is it takes a lot of hard work, resilience, tenacity. I mean, and again, I know those, but again, varying based on what clients, because customers are different, right. Pay rates and bill rates are different. There's some consistencies, but at the end of the day, we have benchmark targets that we kind of lay down on pretty universally over our branches. We look to help them grow and scale. I mean, we've got the anomalies, the mega branch, the onesie, one or two of our 100+ locations that are doing, $40 million, $50 million a year. And then on average, we were doing $4.2 million a year, $5 million a year on average on the branch. But all in all, though, when you compare it to, other franchise opportunities out there, you can't get that level. Even there's no hope of ever hitting those type of levels in most concepts outside of the staffing industry.
What you've been doing this for a long time now. What is it that gets you excited in the morning? You get out of bed and say, "Yeah, time to go to work."
I like making impact at scale. I really love that we're able to differentiate through the levels of service. We're able to make a change, and as we grow, as we get bigger, our voice and our impact gets larger. I hate the fact that again, at times our industry gets mislabeled and is kind of vilified in some instances, and you see it across. And maybe I'm using extremes in that statement, but at the end of the day, the perception is typically negative when people think about temporary staffing. We're here to change that. We're highly focused, hyper focused on service. Our net promoter scores. I'm not sure if you or your listeners are familiar with net promoter score methodology. It's primarily customer service, customer satisfaction scoring systems that are really proven to show companies with higher net promoter scores, generate longer term customers, better profit margins, things of that sort. We've got quite literally world-class industry leading net promoter scores on both our client and talent side. We've got unbelievable net promoter scores on our franchise owner side. So not only do we say we service better, do we say that we do these things, we're proving it through our actions, and then our customers, our clients, our talent, our franchise owners are confirming that through their responses to our ongoing surveying, ongoing questioning, because we're in this consistent, persistent state of improvement. That's one thing. Continuous improvement for me is always looking in the mirror saying, okay, what can I do different? What can I do better? I don't want to be okay with just being okay at things. So
how do you scale a business like yours? So you say you want to, obviously grow almost exponentially. How do you do that?
Yeah, it's easier said than done. I mean, a lot of, obviously we have to build the infrastructure that supports the scale. And that's one of the benefits that we have is we've built this this machine here, this franchise, to be able to give us effectively limitless scale. We can add staff to support new owners onboarding, but when it comes to software, financial, banking, technology, all those different pieces, it's primed and ready. We just need to, again, get willing participants, our franchisees, to join the system and start building and growing their business. So we've got that component of it. Then it's, really the challenge. The hardest part is finding owners to join us. And so we're actively working hard. We've quintupled our franchise development team. For 30 years in this industry, we've had 1 or 2 franchise development folks. We got 5. And so we're out there really spreading the word and trying to identify great, entrepreneurial minded individuals to see the opportunity and really join us on this fun ride. So
as you look across your operations now, what kind of people are attracted to becoming franchisees?
What we found is logically you might think, okay, people from our industry, because you've got thousands and thousands of temporary staffing branches across the country, a lot of mom and pops, a lot of company-owned stores, people who find success in the industry who, say, you know what, I've done this for somebody else for a long time, I can do this for myself. So we have some of that, but at the end of the day, many times people who approach us, are people who have been successful in business, successful in life, who have some taste of our industry indirectly through their employer. Maybe their employer has used staffing firms before, or they were the direct decision maker who's actively participated and were intrigued by the business model. If I had to kind of label one industry, I don't really have any one specific place or industry or type of people that have joined us. We've helped people really of all backgrounds, all walks of life. There are people that get it a little bit faster, a little bit easier than others. At the end of the day, our industry is very sales and business development focused. We're a B2B based service concept. So we're selling to the clients to, hey, use our services, but we're also selling candidates, hey, you should come to work for us as well. So it's very, very sales centric, very sales focused. And being in an industry that deals with people, you have to be very, cognizant of that and be very effectively people friendly. If you don't like dealing with people, this is the wrong industry for you. So,
well, that gets me to my next question. This show is called Listening with Leaders because I train people how to listen, do deep listening. And how important is listening in your business?
Oh, it's absolutely critical. When you're dealing with people, everyone has different feelings, emotions, perceptions, and you've got to be able to understand that and adapt accordingly based on, the circumstances, the situation, whatever the case may be. And sometimes what people are saying and what you think you hear may not be what they're actually saying or trying to convey. So it's really important that you do take the time to listen, but also put yourself in their shoes and try to identify, kind of see where they're coming from and what's got them where they are. And we try, obviously try to adapt and meet them where they are if at all possible. Whether it be in a sales process, because that's just, best practice when it comes to sales and overcoming objections and things of that sort, trying to understand the pain points and overcome those. But when dealing with your internal teams and staff and trying to motivate teams, when they have a certain perception on something and trying to convey that perception, trying to, listen to hear them, to help them feel heard, but then also in the same token, help influence their actions to more positive outcomes for them.
Yeah, in the same vein, what I teach my graduate students, I teach down at Pepperdine University at the law school in the Strauss Institute of Dispute Resolution. I teach them to listen, then problem solve. And we divide the process up so that until somebody feels deeply heard, they're not going to be open to solving whatever problem is in front of them. And the beauty of it is you can listen to somebody and get them open, get them validated and heard in less than a couple of minutes. People don't need this huge stuff. And
hours of, exactly.
They don't need it. If you know what you're doing, if you know what to listen for and how to validate people, you can get them calmed down. And then they're open and receptive to figuring out, okay, what do we need to do to fix this problem? Or where do we go from here? Or in the case of conflict, how do we make things right? How do we, whatever it might be. And to your point, when leaders engage in this kind of listening process, they become the leaders that everyone wants to follow because they care and they're showing empathy.
They get me.
Exactly correct. And that's the reaction that everybody gets when they're feeling deeply listened to. Oh, you really get me. And in the sales process, I do a lot of sales training. And in the sales process, the first thing I teach salespeople is for the first 5 minutes of your sales call, don't say a word. You can ask a couple of open-ended questions, but all you're going to do is listen and reflect. And you really, what you're going to do is listen and reflect emotions, not words. That's
I've actually seen it. It's funny, Doug, because I've seen salespeople talk their way out of a sale, and it's like,
absolutely.
just stop talking.
No. Selling is not telling.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really hard for people. So it's interesting that you've had all those same experiences, especially in a business that's just totally involved around people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and we deal with similar, at times we look at our industry and feel that the industry has been commoditized. It's very price driven. Hey, the first questions we get, what's your rate? Which rate? At the end of the day, the rate differences result in pennies per hour on rates.
Right.
That's not really typically the issue. It's a lot of times it goes back to what are the client or prospective client that you're working with, real issue that they're trying to solve. And if you don't know what that is, matching a rate or focusing on a few pennies on a rate is not going to solve that underlying issue.
No.
And so,
yeah, people come in with a staffing problem. They come to one of your stores. They've got a serious problem they've got to solve. They wouldn't go to short-term staffing unless they had something really serious in front of them. So they've got anxiety and worry and concern, and they're also maybe a little skeptical that they haven't used staffing before, or they're worried that the personnel they're going to get are not going to be competent. There are a lot of barriers that are emotional barriers. It just strikes me that when you address those barriers and get people calmed down, then you can have the discussion about, okay, how do we serve you? And price doesn't become an issue at that point.
Yeah, I mean, because you're delivering real solutions, and usually people are willing to pay for an actual solution if they perceive it to be a true solution. So
yeah, I mean, people talk all the time about how it's too expensive, right?
Yeah,
but
in relation to what?
In relation to what? If you solve the problem, then price is no object.
We have an interesting approach to that, and it's something that it's challenging because every industry is slightly different. But you start evaluating our world if we're dealing with a large manufacturer and they're down talent and they have production facilities that are down, their outputs are down at the facility level, and you go back to, okay, our rate is X, you're looking for Y, but at the end of the day, with those lines that are down, we know we can provide real impact and solutions. Those lines are down, your income is zero. Your efficiencies are gone. And so we look at the delta on rate versus the production deficiencies. I mean,
exactly.
there's some extensive, there's spreadsheets and calculators and all that good stuff. But at the end of the day, the logic is if you find great talent, and most organizations, when you ask leaders, what's your most valuable asset, what do they say?
People.
They're people, right? So why are they looking to nickel and dime then the people experience and the recruiting experience for the people? It's kind of it's a weird dichotomy that we live in our world, but it's a reality that we, deal with and try to overcome through effective sales strategies and listening to our clients, trying to identify where the pain points are and attack those pain points with effective recruiting strategies or suggestions on how to improve their operations. So.
Right, exactly. And I would imagine then that means that at the franchisee level, when a franchise owner is putting together a cadre of people that can be outsourced out, that training those people, hiring the right people, supporting them, all become critical issues to success.
Exactly. Yeah.
And there must be a process you use for training your owners how to do that. How do you attract the right kind of talent? How do you train them? How do you motivate them? How do you imbue in them the values so that works, so that at the very lowest level, the furthest downstream, they walk.
And that's where you go back to alignment with who you're bringing in. So there's some innate inherent aspects of kind of servant leadership culture, that willingness to serve, that kind of personal reputation that they want to promote. That's kind of baked in. We train, really on all facets of successful operations, including, what it means to differentiate through service, what it means to deliver, a great impact to the community through, screening and identifying the best talent, overcoming objections, and really impacting clients where their pain points are and where their demand really is. We've got a phenomenal learning and development as a franchisor. It makes sense, right? For us, we're selling a great brand and obviously helping people enter this space and trying to get them up to speed as rapidly as possible. And so our learning and development department is absolutely robust. I've got 30-year veteran in the industry that's really led very, very large training efforts in multinational organizations, very, very privileged to have some strong talents we do on our team, really helping drive that forward.
So do you bring your franchisee back to Tennessee or some other nice place once a year or so for?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's the deal. We do an annual conference every year. We do some regional stuff as well, like from a training perspective. But, at the end of the day, when somebody joins the franchise, we've got a tremendous training pathway, a learning pathway for owners, for their teams, that involves coming here, going through our training center. It's in my office here, and going through that process. But then we bring everybody back together, and yes, there is some learning opportunities when we bring everybody back together. That's more about the camaraderie, building that AtWork family, and that's what we talk about quite a bit, is the AtWork family and how we really bolster and foster that culture as an organization. Because yes, everybody is in their own branches, and sometimes they get feeling like they're on their own little island, and nobody is really there to remind them that, hey, you're part of a bigger organization. We're here for you, and we're together. And those events are literally some of the best time spent, because of that fact, because we're able to re-energize and reinvigorate one another, rekindle those relationships that we've time has kind of stretched them apart. And so we do that every year. We're actually in the process of planning for our 2024 event right now. Actually, I got off a call leading up to this in regards to that. So
I'm wondering, do you set up mentor-mentee relationships between your franchisees?
We are not there yet, just because of the size of where we're at with the amount of owners, but we've talked about that at length. And so that is coming very, very soon, to structure kind of a mentor-mentee relationship between new owners, tenured owners, large owners, small owners, trying to help pair them up accordingly and create this really nice dialogue within the organization.
Because I would imagine that the owners see the same problems over and over again, and the more experienced people have figured out solutions, and they can share their experience with the newer people.
Absolutely. And that's it. And that's where we're at. I mean, there's this, great, just amassing of knowledge that has come together with so many great owners that we have. We have legacy owners that, the franchise is 32 years old, 32 years young this coming year. And so we've got owners, we've got our very first franchise owner who just retired this past year. We actually symbolically kind of acquired her office from her. We have a company-owned, pocket in East Tennessee of company-owned locations that we keep our toes in the water. This owner was in Decatur, Alabama, right down the road from us, right near Huntsville, Alabama. And she ended up retiring after 3 iterations of her franchise contract. She piloted in 1988 before we actually started franchising. She was one of the first kind of franchise locations off the record. And we learned a lot from her. Phenomenal lady. And again, we had to come in a very, I guess there was a lot of emotional attachment to that first kind of franchise office that we had in Alabama there, and now to have it in-house. And so, but it is something we would look at these partnerships with our owners as really long-term endeavors. We're not looking for kind of a one and done or somebody to join and kind of exit. We want those long-term family members that are going to be here for 10, 20, 30 years.
That's pretty cool to see a life cycle.
Oh, it's awesome. It's awesome.
That's got to be
literally, she started and she was 20 years old, and now she's retired and doing quite well, her and her husband. And it's just been a fun ride. And we've got a few other owners that were with us since 92 and 93 who are still a part of the system today and happy to be part of the system.
Mm-hmm.
So.
It sounds a lot better than flipping burgers.
Oh, trust me, it is. You help somebody find that job and they pick up the phone and call you and say, I can't thank you enough. You've changed my life. You've impacted, we've captured some of their stories on our YouTube channel. If you jump on there, and there's a few really, really nice, stories, not only of talent that we've helped, but also franchise owners and telling their stories, how their lives were changed through owning this staffing business. So really, really phenomenal to be able to make, again, impact at scale. So.
Absolutely. Well, one more question. I'll let you get back to your busy day. What's one thing, Jason, about yourself that we would never know about unless you revealed it to us?
Oh, man. Oh, well, your listeners wouldn't know this. I actually did another podcast. They might have listened to it, but I've got a family. I've got 3 kids, and I'm very, very dedicated to my family. I've achieved a lot of great things in my career so far, and I've still got a long runway to go. I hope to have a long runway to go. But I put priority where it needs to happen. So I'm home for dinner every night by 5:30. I have dinner with the family. I spend dedicated time with the kids. I think that's absolutely mission critical to have a positive and strong work-life balance. Put priorities in their place, put family first if you've got family, they grow up too fast. And so I really put focus there. It didn't hold me back in my career, in my ability to excel in my career. Again, doesn't mean that, once the kids go to bed, I have to check email and respond to some things, and things come up. It is what it is. But when I'm there, I'm present. When I'm here at the office, I'm present. And I think that's a, kind of a life pro tip. I think you can do it. There's lots of time management and scheduling recommendations out there. Discipline yourself, do it, and you can find success.
I absolutely agree with that. I mean, I think that a lot of people complain about work-life balance because they're using work as a distraction from having to deal with life.
Yeah, it's all about prioritization, and sometimes you have to force it. Sometimes it's not easy, and you have to force it, and you can discipline yourself, and you can discipline those around you to understand, hey, this is my schedule, and I'm not going to waver. I adhere to this strictly, and it is what it is. And so you got to have discipline, just like in working out, just like in diet and exercise, all these things. If you don't have discipline, it doesn't work. It's all about discipline and really helping others see that you're serious about it. So
that's right. Discipline, patience, and persistence.
Yep.
Well, Jason, this has been a great conversation. Thank you so much for your time today. It's been wonderful.
Truly enjoyed it, Doug. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.